So my ferry has been canceled. Now, supposedly it may go later today. The afternoon ferry may go later today, but my ferry is definitely canceled, which was the 7:30 a.m. ferry to Naxos. And we waited around to see what they were going to say. And sometimes what happens is they'll just delay the ferry and then they'll say it's canceled, or then they'll say it will go. But today it is not going. The wind in Athens isn't that bad. It was yesterday, and they did cancel the ferry yesterday, and nothing left yesterday. But today it's sort of a toss-up. The wind apparently is much worse in Naxos than it is here. So that is probably the reason why. Yep, I'm on the boat, finally. So what ended up happening was the people at the port office said to check back after 12 or 1 o'clock to see if the ferry was going. And so I did not go back to my house. I went and got breakfast and did some work and met up with some people. And then I came back over to the ferry office and they said yes. Around 2 I came back and they said yes, that it was going to go at 3 o'clock. So it was actually perfect timing because a lot of people left, and more like either booked on the 5:30 ferry that normally goes, or they ended up taking flights. So the ferry is very empty now. I do have a business ticket today because I need to get some work done while I'm on the boat. So sometimes when I need to get work done, I book the business ticket. So the lesson learned here is that if your ferry is canceled or delayed, is if you don't feel the need to rush, if you have time, then my recommendation is to stay at the port and see if the ferry ends up going, because sometimes it does end up leaving. It just ends up leaving later. If you don't want to wait and see if it goes, you can always book yourself on the next ferry, and that way you're guaranteed a spot on that next ferry. If you have some flexibility, then it's worth it to hang out and just keep checking. If you see that the weather isn't changing, then you need to make another plan. Some people that didn't feel like they could wait because they either weren't going for very long or they had other connections they need to make, they did a couple of things. You can try to get on a flight. If you're going to an island with an airport, then that is definitely an option. A lot of people did do that. There are several flights a day still at this time of year to Naxos, and a couple people were going to Paros and Santorini. All of those have airports, so that's an easy fix. If the ferry is canceled because of weather or a strike, usually you have the option to get a refund. You can either book yourself on a later ferry or get a refund. If you didn't book directly through the ferry company, so I'm on a Blue Star ferry, but I booked with Ferry Hopper. If I had decided to get a refund, I would need to contact Ferry Hopper to get that refund. If you picked up physical tickets, you usually have to return the tickets to get the refund. So if you didn't book directly with the ferry company, that means, like if I had done that, I would have to go to the Ferry Hopper offices and give them the physical tickets back. Obviously, not everybody can just go to the Ferry Hopper office to return your tickets. So if you're still in the country, you can mail them. Some of the local operators will take the tickets and issue the refund for you, but that may be tricky. So if you're still in country, I recommend that you find a post office and you mail them back to them. Make sure you send it back registered mail, so that way you can track it. You know that if you've made it there, maybe take a picture of your ticket so you know the ticket number and all things like that. If you happen to still be in Athens, then it's probably easiest and fastest to just go to the Ferry Hopper offices or wherever you've booked your ticket through so that you can get that refund. What you didn't see me doing is I didn't run around trying to figure all of this out. I have become very relaxed, so I was just like, all right, I'll check back later. And they had said come after 12 or 1 o'clock. I showed up at 2:15. And actually that worked out perfectly because it was leaving at 3. Well, we're supposed to leave at 3, which is in 10 minutes. Obviously, not everybody can do that, and so I understand that if you need to make decisions, you have to go off based off what you know and what you can predict. My advice to you is this: if you're determined to get to that island in that same day, and you're not sure whether or not a later boat is going to go, if they have an airport, you try to get on a flight, and if there is no airport, then you go ahead and book yourself on that later ferry, or if the ferry is the next day, because you don't want to wait and make that decision and then there be no tickets left because the other boat was already somewhat booked, and then they added all these extra people on. Now, the advantage of this happening in the off season is it's less likely to happen that those ferries are all booked, but in the high season, that is not the case.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to inform you that Blue Star Delos will depart at 3 o'clock for the islands Paros and Naxos. Thank you.
And not only did we have the ship rescheduled, it left right on time. They said they would leave at 3, and motor was on and we were heading out at 3 o'clock. And the ship is pretty much empty because very few people stuck around to see if it was actually going to happen. I think a lot of people just rebooked for the later ferry at 5:30, and so they'll be on the 5:30, and I will get to Naxos at 8:20 instead of 11:30 at night, which is so much better for me. Hey guys, it's the day after I finally got here. After a very long night, I decided to just hit the hay when I got here. And anyway, it's still super windy out, so I'm kind of glad that the ferry even went. I hope this was helpful. Like, I know it was sort of on the fly, like what to do when your ferry is canceled, but it's kind of best sometimes to just talk about these things in the moment rather than having like a sit down talking head video of what if this happens. I actually have a whole video on Greek ferry tips that's coming up on the screen now in case you need more ferry tips and tricks for running around the Greek islands on a Greek ferry. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.